I bet in a few months' time, just hearing the soundtrack will make me cry. Welcome, you lovely souls, to my review of Olympia Soiree. We will start with the setting of the game. The story is in a fantasy universe on an island with a strict color hierarchy. The most precious color is white, and coincidentally, the color of our MC, Olympia, is white. Followed by the primary colors, red, white and blue, and then the second colors are considered a bit substandard. But the most ugly mixed colors are similar to criminals, banned from the surface and sent to the underground, the Yomi, where there is no sun. Our MC is for some reason the only white person left, but this color hierarchy is not completely for no reason, because the important colors have certain duties to fulfill in order for the world to work. And it's the responsibility of the white-colored people to make the sun shine. That means when they go extinct, the world will be engulfed in darkness. You see, the stakes are high and our MC has a very heavy responsibility to shoulder. That is why she is required, starting from her 18th birthday, to look for a husband within 1 year's time and continue the white lineage to save the world. The common route explaining this and more took me about 10 to 12 hours, so maybe if you actually understand the language it would be around 5 to 7, and this is also as long as each character does. The story is told in small chapters, and most of the chapters contain one day, what makes for a really nice flow of the story, and there are many flashbacks, so it's easy to catch up if you missed something of this. The main character is the white Olympia or Byakuya. She lost her parents with the age of 5 when all the other white women vanished, and was brought to the Yellow Hats estate where she was raised secluded from the world, so she knows not much about the world, love or friends. That's why she starts a journey of discovering the world and finding a husband fairly inexperienced. At the start she's shy and insecure and doesn't know how to react in certain situations, and is self-conscious about forming her own opinion. But over time, she becomes more aware of her surroundings, understands the rules of the world, starts stating her opinion frankly. She even turns out to be rather stubborn and headstrong, and knows what she wants and does everything she can to achieve her goals and pursue her values. Her story feels a bit like a coming-of-age story of a girl discovering the world, discovering herself and love, finding out what she wants from life, which values she wants to protect, and how far she is willing to go to achieve her dreams. So I think Olympia or Byakuya is really a great character, and it's really exciting to watch her grow. And she will most certainly appeal to the Western audience. Now we come to the love interest in the recommended order. Starting with Riku. He is a blue soldier, very stern and earnest, and actually supports the rules of the world, like the color hierarchy. He is the perfect kudere, what can I say? So it takes him a long time to open up to Byakuya. I still think that the story is nicely paced with tits and bits of romance here and there. His route is also very much about getting to know the sub-characters. His voice is a very good kudere voice. It's strong and cold, but shines in romance scenes. Tokisada is of the color green. He's really bright, sweet and childish, both in how he approaches conflicts, but he's also naive and has an open mindset. But on the other hand, he can still be stubborn in a way that he takes what he wants. I also thought that the love development in his route was really nicely paced because it was initiated by Tokisada, and I didn't have much expectation for his route because he appeared to be so childish, but man, I was wrong. Remember I said he takes what he wants? Yes, he does. In a sweet way, but he does. So some romance scenes completely took my breath, and I didn't believe what was just happening. I mean, phew, is it me or is it getting hot in here? The story parts were also about unraveling more of the law of the island. And it was his route when I realized this is really a game that can make you laugh and cry within minutes. His voice is fittingly sweet, but he could also change to a more deep, manly voice. Kuruba is a black doctor, so being black of the lowest color is predestined for some story conflicts. He's flirtatious and teasing and funny and seldomly earnest. On top of that, he's bright and self-confident and relaxed. That is probably why I didn't like him as much as I would like to, because he was sometimes too funny. And his romance had pacing issues, but maybe I was just too impatient. It was still really, really good, but maybe a bit slow. Also, his story revelations were really interesting, connected to his black heritage. His voice felt really unique because it sounded so cheerful and self-confident, but in some scenes I missed a certain tone of sorrow or vexation. Maybe I like to torment my love interests, I don't know. Then Yosuga, my best boy, definitely. He is a purple bathhouse keeper, if you can say that, in the underworld, and he totally looks like a lady killer to me, but he actually turns out to be sensitive, kind, gentle and attentive, but also mysterious. He teases her as well, but for me in a more charming way than Kurobadas. And I also felt that their love developed really naturally. And his story to me was full of plot twists and secrets and revelations I didn't see coming, so I was always on the edge of my seat or my couch. And oh my god, his voice sounds like being wrapped in a pillow. It's gorgeous. Himeka is the grey undertaker of funerals. He is the incorporation of shy. He's very sweet, and he made me go like, oh my god, he's so cute, so shy. He's super insecure and self-conscious, but really interesting to get to know. And you might think from his character design on the cover, seems really girlish, and I agree on that, but his character sprites are more boyish and not girlish. His romance scenes could sometimes be weird. They still had a fair share of the story, but didn't really vibe with me. As he's locked, you can only play him after you completed the other 4 characters. He reveals much about the law of the island. His voice was also really fitting, neither too girlish nor too manly. Lastly, Akasa, and he's the poster boy for a reason. He's the red head of a very important ministry and stern and stoic, and sometimes called by the MC Iron Mask face. But he's also strong and reliable and honest, and he also has his own set of values and convictions he self-confidently pursues. To me, his romance also felt a bit slow-paced because the main character was a bit more reluctant to engage with him. But that's what makes it feel distinct from the other routes, because they have a different chemistry going on. But it still was a natural development, I would say. And when you get to the romance part, it's romance thoroughly. So it's definitely worth the wait. In his story segment, again, there were many revelations, as he can only be played lastly. And after the mentioned pacing issues, his story was so emotional to me. And it was due to the story, but also the incredibly good music I totally came to love by then. I thought this would only be happening after I finished the game, but at this point my emotions were already tightly linked to the ripping music. I cried a lot and I was emotionally shaken after his route. I don't know what it is about his voice, but to me it sounds sexy in itself, even if he says something completely unimportant. And that's why I think he's best suited for the romantic scenes. Oh my gosh. But my favorite character of all were the mice. All in all characters are unbelievably nice and easy to be with, and I kind of missed the bad boy a bit. Like, coming from Pure Fjorde, that quite surprised me, like, is this even allowed? No abusive relationship inside? No? Every route has heavy romance aspects, and you could truly understand why they fell in love. But also some had some pacing issues. That is probably because the routes also focus on story and lore revelations of the world. And every love interest has its own secrets to unravel and goals to fight for, and that is what the story actually moves forward. So each route came with different problems to solve. I would say you can make 3 distinctions in how the story develops. There's the romance level, there's the revelation of the personal history of the love interest, and then there's the lore revelation and the future goals of the love interests. Some of those conflicts seemed really great to me, but others felt a bit stereotypically almost annoying because I couldn't empathize with them. And some villains seemed also a bit one-dimensional, unpredictable. Now let's talk about the endings. There is a capture system where you can see whether you made the right choice that can be turned on or off. So if you want to, it's rather easy to achieve the good ending, and the good endings are really good. There are 3 different endings: the good ending and 2 bad endings. I could categorize in bad and tragic, but it's not really consistent, I believe. But each of the endings comes with a CG. All of the endings seem to me kind of open-ended, as it was not totally clear what the future holds, and especially the bad endings felt to me a bit sudden and short because they took me less than half an hour to complete. They felt a bit slapped on because the story doesn't branch out early, but it's just another ending sequence you get. Though the ideas of the bad endings were really interesting, I feel they couldn't convey all those feelings of desperation and sorrow in this short amount of time. In the end, for me, they didn't add much to the story and characters. The only bad ending I liked was Yosuga's bad ending, but that's because I'm clearly biased. Not to the art of the game. Starting with the background art, and all what I can say doesn't look like background art. All the backgrounds are too pretty and so detailed and convey this Asian setting of the game. The first thing I noticed about the CGs that they weren't regularly implemented but kind of randomly scattered throughout the route, and then all of them coming at you in romance scenes was of course really nice thing to have, many romance CGs, but on the other hand I felt a bit thirsty for CGs until I got to the romance scenes. But they are all very pretty and a bit like an acrylic painting or drawn with watercolors. I feel like they could have been more detailed or made more use of the colors because it's kind of the topic of the game. The voices, as I already mentioned, did all a very good job, especially Akasa. The music, it doesn't feel like background music to me at all, more like full-fledged RPG, roaming the wilds music that deserves to be in the center of attention. You might wonder about the overall tone of the game. As you might have thought in the introduction of the setting, it's really an uncomfortable setting. You wouldn't want to live in this world. And there's a lot of lore to stomach and tragic backstories to unravel with horrible fates like rape, execution, discrimination, not only against the colors but also especially against women. But still, the overall art style is colorful, and that's why I'm reluctant to say it's a dark game. The topic is tragic, but in the main story and the good ending, neither the MC or the love interests are really in danger. I would describe it as emotional and tragic or dramatic, but not necessarily as utterly dark. It also has a very pretty Asian setting, conveyed in the backgrounds, the music and the sound effects. It's also important to have in mind about this game that it's really heavily lore focused. I think the writers aimed at creating a living and breathing world. Hell, I even feel like I have a sense of direction on this island, despite it being a visual novel where you don't move yourself and you only have 2D background. So I would definitely say mission accomplished. So if you want a purely romance and love focused game, you will probably find you being bored more often than not, because half of the story is always about the sub-characters and their tragic fates, or revelations about the lore and the island. This game is brimming full with sugar content. There are definitely scenes that can be described as erotic. So if you feel uncomfortable with those kind of erotic descriptions, maybe skip on this game because they're really long, intense love scenes. But if you like something like that, this is definitely the game for you. Other aspects of the game I cannot not mention. Above all, the short story section. There are 3 episodes for each love interest. One epilogue light episode with the cute couple scene. They are really good. A self-introduction with some really interesting questions, or like now I know that Tokisada and I share the same birthday. And a memo with their thoughts about the events or reminiscing about what happened. And also the side characters have one of those memos, sharing their thoughts about the events. This section really gave more insight about the characters, their backstories, and I felt like it really added much again to the world building of this game. I might even have enjoyed this section as much as I enjoyed playing the whole game. Would I recommend learning Japanese with it? Definitely no. It's kind of historical and it's high fantasy. It uses many made-up words, unusual use of kanji, and unless you're like me and okay with only understanding half of it, I would not recommend to learn Japanese. All that is left to say that as much as I was happy I captured all the love interest and enjoyed all the additional content, I was also wistful to leave this colorful yet tragic world behind me.